Welcome to Puny Pod's monthly bugle for January 2025. My name is Ryan, and my co-host, as always, is David. David, how are you doing this fine 2025 night? A day after our podiversary, day after our second podiversary.
Happy Podiversary, my man. Do we what's second? Is that like copper? Is that wool? Is that
Is that
um,
10?
is
I
it
I don't
tin?
remember. I should know these
Is it
things.
adamantium? I'm doing okay, man. I'm a little distracted by the fires that are going on in Southern California right now. I'm not sure when
Yeah.
this will release. I'm sure those will hopefully be out by then, but it's just a bummer. I live in a high fire area. Our good friend, some friends of the pod also live in high fire areas in Colorado. So it's just, I don't know, just a little sobering, if you will.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's definitely want to say that right here at the top. We're recording this on the 8th of January. You will probably hear this just to give a little bit of breathing room to our main show episode. You'll probably hear this on, I think, in about 2 weeks from now. Because our Spider-Man episode just released yesterday here, day of recording. So we'll give it a couple weeks to let that breathe, and then this will drop into your feed. So little bit of old news, and so hopefully we're in the mop up stages by the time you're hearing this. But anybody impacted, I know we have a lot of listeners in that Southern California region. We'll look at our numbers and that sort of stuff. That's a big region for us. So if for everybody impacted, I hope that you are as safe as you can be, and I hope that the impacts are as minimal as possible. So um not to get us off on too far of a down note, though, do want to get this month, as is kind of our tradition here with Puny Pod. In the month of January, we kind of dedicate the monthly bugle to. In the past, we've done our year in review in January, but we actually did that last month in December. So go check that out. Go check out the monthly bugle for December of 2024. That has all of our year in review stuff with a really fun kind of Christmas theme to it. Um,
A review of all the Marvel movie.
right. And our lambasting of the Sony Spider Verse.
Oh man.
But yeah, go check that out. This month we are going to look forward. It's typically light news here in January. January is not a very heavy news cycle for Marvel typically, so not a whole lot going on. Now granted, I'm gonna say that in the next 2 weeks before release are gonna be like completely loaded, and you guys are gonna be like, you guys missed all the best stuff. They announced that they're gonna release 10 more movies next year, and you know
Out comes Blade, right?
right. But it gives us a chance to kind of look forward to the year. And so we're gonna do that this month. We've also got some comic content. There was a little bit of news in the comic world, so I wanted to cover that. Um, we do have what I'm really excited for is we actually have some current content. I think almost every monthly bugle this year, we will have current content to cover, which is really cool. I get really excited about the current content part of the monthly bugle. Um, it's kind of fun to put on our critic hat and talk about these a little bit. So this month, we have What If. So What If is the third. It was the third season that came out. It aired from December 22nd to December 29th on a nightly basis. They released one episode each time. Um, the the third season here was um written by Matthew Chauncey and Brian Andrews and Stephen Frank, directed with the animation coming from Flying Bark Studios and Stellar Creative Lab. So really overall, it was a good season. We'll talk about it here as we go in. I also do want to mention we're going to talk about some actors and such that were in or in the episodes. Um, but one actor that is not gonna get mentioned just because he was in like every episode is Jeffrey Wright. He reprised his role as Uatu the Watcher, um, which we'll get to here as we talk about the episodes. But um, first, so for those who don't know, What If kind of explores alternate timelines, alternate ideas for how the MCU could go, right? How and it's actually based on a comic book by the same title, um, or I guess sort of based. It's based on a comic book is kind of a funny thing to say because it's not. They're not necessarily borrowing storylines from those comics, but the
But the
idea
conceit.
of
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, and so really fun, really kind of like lets them explore the space a little bit.
Yeah.
So the first episode was called What If the Hulk Fought the Mech Avengers? And this was a really fun episode where basically the Hulk had bombarded himself with so much gamma radiation that he like spun off a version of himself to become a kaiju. Think Godzilla. So big stompy monster. Mark Ruffalo voiced Bruce Banner in this, and then the Avengers had to fight the Hulk kaiju, fight the Gamma kaiju. Um, the Avengers were made up. The primary Avengers in the episode were made up of Anthony Mackie voicing Sam Wilson / Captain America, Tiona Paris doing Monica Rambeau, aka Photon, Sebastian Stan doing Bucky, David Harbour being Red Guardian, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, and then Oscar Isaac as Mark Spector / Moon Knight, and then also Milena Voskov, which was Red Guardian's um, like girlfriend in Black Widow, she or wife. She also showed up, but was not voiced by her actress. She was voiced by Carrie Walgren instead. And then Nakia represented Wakanda and was voiced by Brittany. I should have practiced this one before I tried to jump straight into it. Adambola. Um, and not Nakia's original actor there. So
You forgot
um,
one.
who did I forget?
You forgot one. Incredible Hulk. Welcome back, Edward Norton. Sorry. No, Mark Ruffalo.
um, yeah, Mark Ruffalo doing an Incredible Hulk. So all of those Avengers have to use like mech suits. Think uh, Gundams or Voltron or Power Rangers or take your pick of big stompy robots. Pacific Rim if none of that was niche enough for you. But big stompy robots fighting big stompy monsters. It was a blast. It ends in them all combining Voltron style or Power Ranger style or
Earth, wind, water, fire. Power
uh,
Rangers.
yeah, that cracked me up because we were just watching Far From Home where like there's that little throwaway joke, but then I was like, oh, hey, that kind of came back.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dell, Mr. Harrington. So
Yep. I loved this episode. This is my kind of thing, man. The Pacific Rim movies are some of my favorite movies from the last like decade. Um so this was absolutely down my alley. This was, oh, Ryan, you want some Marvel joy here. Take it.
yeah,
Enjoy.
I'm sure.
Uh
Yeah, the coming in, it's interesting to think about the stories that they select, the order, how they kind of build upon each other. I think What If is oftentimes, for the most part, supposed to be a lot of standalone episodes.
mhm.
Oftentimes there will be a character or a theme which will kind of advance through the whole thing. So you think of someone like Agent Carter, who is basically, in my mind, the star of What If, all the
Yeah.
seasons, if you were to like pick one person out. But this was very standalone. I'm not gonna lie, coming into the season, I was like, oh man, what if? Let's do this. I'm super amped. And the first one was like, this is not my jam. So I was just like, it's okay. Like,
It's fair.
it's all right. Like, I don't hate it. It wasn't like this is not the leadoff hitter I would have had. I would have batted this one around sixth or seventh in the lineup.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Like, if you like you said, if you enjoy that kind of like mech and the artwork and like I said, Pacific Rim, like right down your alleyway for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I will say this season, so I think the second season did this, and I'm trying to remember back. I think the first season did too. The first half of the season is very standalone, right? It's very like none of this really impacts the rest, and then it flips a switch and it goes into kind of an arc type story.
Hmm.
Um, and so this was definitely part of the standalone. These mechs did not come back later or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. Second episode, what if Agatha went to Hollywood? Um, it's basically Catherine Hahn as Agatha Harkness, Kumal Nanjiani as Kingo, Dominic Cooper appears as Howard Stark. So nice to see him back and working again. That's kind of cool. James Darcy as Edwin Jarvis and David Kay as Arishem. So the basic plot. This is the second one. We were joking for the show. Like I like the show, but there were a couple episodes where like I had to watch a few times. I fall asleep. Okay, I make a mistake for starting it on late, and this was one of them. I had like a rough week of work, and like I'm like pass out at like 9:30, like an old man. But in this one, so I had to watch a couple times. Agatha, she's up to her old tricks. She's planning a magical ritual to siphon the power of Tiamat, the celestial witch is buried in Earth's core. As a reminder for folks, I have not seen the Eternals, so a lot of this was kind of lost on me. But so I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this one play. I'm not gonna rewatch the
That's
scenery. I'm just gonna let it
hilarious.
go. So, but she becomes an actress. To do so, she becomes an actress in the golden age of Hollywood, and she stars in a film that was directed by Howard Stark. So again, Dominic Cooper reprising his early role. She has Stark cast Kingo, who is the final Eternal, Kumail Nanjiani's character that she needs for a spell to work. And she's already taken the other elementals, Eternal's power. So she's trying to like gang on. But we get some cool, kind of fun dance scenes. The choreography is fun, and the
Yeah.
music is fun. I like that quite a bit. With Stark and Jarvis, Harkness takes Kingo's and Tumat's power, and she becomes a Celestial after defeating Arishem. Kingo convinced Harkness to give up the Celestial power in favor of joining him in the movie business for real. And during the premiere of their movie, quote, Cosmic Queen, entitled Cosmic Queen, Kingo notes that the released Eternals are worried that Arishem's defeat has drawn the other Celestials' attention, but Harkness assures them that they can be, quote, saved for the sequel. So what were your thoughts on this one?
I liked this one. I do wish there's some part of me that wishes it was other Howard Stark, just because we talked so much about how other Howard Stark reminded us of Walt Disney, and
Mm.
so putting him in Hollywood would have been just full circle. But I did like seeing Dominic Cooper come back. This is so every season in What If. I feel like every season in What If there's like the one episode that you're like, man, I really wish I could see this live action. And this is
Oh
the one
yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's a
because
good
I
call.
would love to see Catherine Hahn play off of Kumail Nanjiani. Like, just to see that chemistry on screen would be super fun. Um, but yeah, I liked this one. I also have watched the Eternals quite a few times, and so it was cool to see them come back. I was really happy in these first two episodes. There was some of those like, have we forgot about these properties that Marvel at least paid some lip service to,
Hmm.
between Moon Knight and Shang-Chi and then in this the Eternals. It was kind of nice to get at least a little bit of some for them. Uh, you know, of course it's no movie or anything, but an animated show is at least something,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun.
And it's an interesting comment around live action versus animated, because there are some episodes, and we'll hit on some in a few, that I prefer as an animated, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the first one and then
Good
the
luck doing that one. There's your $120 million episode of What If right there.
right. And then yeah, probably that Howard Duck one, that one, let's
That's
do
the
that one live action.
no, please let's not. Speaking of which,
Yeah, well,
oh
not
wait, no wait,
quite.
we're on
One
three.
more,
No.
one more.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next one here, episode 3, what if the Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier? So this one was interesting. David Harbour coming back as Red Guardian again, Sebastian Stan voicing Bucky Barnes again, Lawrence Fishburne coming in to pick up Bill Foster, and finally actually get to be Goliath. Um Dreykov was in this one. I don't remember if that was his original voice. So it was Karpov. And then actually Obadiah Stane showed up, not voiced by um, Jeff Bridges, unfortunately. But basically, the basic story here is that uh, a jealous Red Guardian stops Bucky Barnes from killing the Starks, right? Um, and then hijinks ensue. They end up going to Vegas. Uh, a ranger, National Forest Service ranger by the name of America Ferrera gets involved, or I'm sorry, by the name of Ranger Morales, voiced by America Ferrera,
Mm-hmm.
um, also gets involved in the hijinks. It's kind of your classic, like, unlikely buddy cop movie from the 80s. I feel like it's not, it wasn't quite, it wasn't like they started off buddies, but like enemies to friends type of movie, involving classic Russian stereotypes from the late 80s, early 90s. um I thought it was fun. It was funny to see Obadiah. I was not sure it was Obadiah at first, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's who it is." Um, I liked this one. It was definitely one of those where, like, this is a story I would like to have seen, right? This is a story that makes sense to have seen. In the very end, where they're doing the Battle of New York, and uh Red Guardian like drunkenly stumbles into frame. Pretty great.
Yeah. We haven't seen a lot of Red Guardian, so it is a nice way to introduce him and his character and his powers a little bit more. Uh, and I always love seeing Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, so that was
Oh
good.
yeah.
The part where the it ends up where the Red Guardian joins the Avengers, I was a little bit like, okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm not gonna lie, got a little bit tiring. There were a lot of communism jokes, a lot of like
Oh yeah.
proletariat, like every other line. And if I swear to God, if that's a preview of the Thunderbolts, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, he was Red Guardian was definitely very communism pilled. Uh yeah, that was it got it got heavy in that one.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's just like when you tell a joke like too much, and you're just
Yeah.
like, okay, let's But I did enjoy the animation, did enjoy the action, and it was a fun little kind of buddy team up duo that you would normally see.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one, which caught me by surprise,
This one is off the rails.
this one is off the rails. Episode 4. What if Howard the Duck got his beak wet? Literally. So we have Kat Dennings voices Darcy Lewis. Love Kat Dennings. She's always
Oh
great.
yeah.
Very funny, like very charming. Seth Green is Howard the Duck, reprising his role from
Guardians first
yeah,
time
Guardians.
around,
Yeah,
yeah.
Samuel Jackson is Nick Fury. Tom Hiddleston appears as Loki. Clark Gregg is still alive, showing up as Agent Coulson. Michael Rooker shows up as Yondu, and I love that. And then I was like, wait, that's not who the hell's Matt
That's
Friend
not
voicing the
Jeff
grand? No, it's
Goldblum.
Goldblum. No,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and it was close, but off enough. His voice, I was just like, I'm not buying this garbage. Um, and then a lot of other, same characters who played Ebony Moss, who played Topaz, like same people. Chris Hemsworth showed up, so
Josh
pretty.
Brolin as
Josh Brolin,
Thanos.
yeah. So a pretty large collection of voice talent. And as an aside, like I don't know if this is part of the original contracts that they have to like. This is something that they have to do as part of their service to Disney, but I don't know otherwise how you're getting. Josh Brolin has other bigger things to do than voice
Yeah.
Thanos for like 2 minutes in this show, but this was a fun callback to, was it season one where Thor has his party on Earth?
Yep.
And I thought that was super fun early on. So Howard the Duck is married Darcy for some reason. I guess they met during the party. They get hitched. They have a baby that forms in the form of obviously an egg, of course. Um, they get invited by the Grandmaster to join the cruise. As soon as I see the ship, I'm like, let me get me some Jeff Goldblum. And then like 30 seconds later, like, not getting Jeff Goldblum. And as they arrive, they're on the ship. It turns out they're trying, they're decoding the menu, the breakfast menu, whatever it is, and it turns out they're trying to, eat the egg.
Cook their child.
Fury, Fury and Coulson show up, and they explain their child was born during a rare alignment of the nine realms called the Convergence, and is destined for great things. Yondu arrives, steals the egg, delivers it to Caecilius, who we haven't seen in a long while,
Yeah.
who kills Yondu, and then attempts to use the egg as a host body for Dormammu. And I mean, just to pause for a second, like I would not recommend watching this movie under any kind of like any strong medicines, or just because this will drive you to madness. So Shield attacks. They try to acquire the egg. Couple recovers it. It's big kind of back and forth, where they're going down the mountain and they're riding. They kind of end up at the very, very end.
Yeah, they end up at Jotunheim, which is a ski resort now.
Which is ski resort run by Loki, just blue Loki, right? Because it's
Right.
yeah. The Black Order there, Thanos, Zeus. I mean, it's just I forgot Zeus was there. Like, and the egg, suddenly glows, rises in the sky, and then just starts laying waste, right? Just wiping out enemies, and then hatches into a human duck hybrid, kind of like a duck centaur, I guess, if you will, which the parents name Birdie with a Y,
It's not where
BYRDIE.
you
Not That's not what you
think.
think. And then the Fury lets the child stay with family, and they raise it, and that's the last we see of Birdie in the show. So, oh wait,
No,
wait,
no, it's not.
I didn't see episode 8. What are you trying to tell me? I'm kidding. So, did you like the episode? Was this kind of like
I did. I love.
top, middle, bottom, third?
I out of what? So that's top 8, middle 8, bottom 8 probably as far as like
Just this season, yeah.
all.
So it's just like,
Oh, this season?
yeah. I
I,
can't. We'd have to go back and watch everything
yeah.
to think about them all.
I'd say it's like top of the middle for me. It
Okay.
was good. I enjoyed this one a lot. I like the absurd ones, like the absurd what ifs kind of like they're not fine art by any means, but they make me laugh, and this one made me laugh.
I think they hearken to the comic, which I originally read. This is obviously the MCU version of What If, so it's not like following comic lines, but they just take just a wild concept and we're like, what would happen if this, right? And
Yeah.
that is the basic. And this is, I think, very true to that. This is very
Yes.
emblematic.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Um so then this is where this is kind of where the flips or the switch flips a little bit. Like Birdie does come back, but the story of that episode doesn't necessarily come back a whole lot other than Birdie coming back. But from here on out, it's all kind of part of a larger story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the next one here is, what if the emergence destroyed Earth? So the emergence is from Eternals. Basically, the idea of Eternals is the Earth is an egg, and we're going to give birth to an Eternal.
I thought you
Earth
were
as
saying
well.
Howard the Duck is the parent
Right.
of Earth.
So the emergence happened in this timeline. So the Earth is broken up, um, and Quentin Beck, our old buddy Quentin Beck, has taken over Stark Industries. Unfortunately, not voiced by everybody's favorite red scarf wearing Jake Gyllenhaal. Instead, voiced by a voice actor, Alejandro Saab. Um, he so Quentin Beck takes over Stark Industries and creates basically the Ultron army, um, the big old Ultron drone army. Um, in this episode, we do have Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne. I believe that's her original actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then Emily Van Camp reprising Sharon Carter, aka the Power Broker. Kenya Ramsey voiced Okoye, which is not original Okoye. Uh,
Little Tessa
Wong,
Thompson as
Te-
Valkyrie, right?
Tessa Thompson is
Yeah.
Valkyrie, which is her obviously her original voice. And then I do want to also mention, in the end, we do get to hear the Eminence, who is voiced by Jason Isaacs. And for my um, Star Wars, or for my Harry Potter fans out there, Jason Isaacs um, is uh, Malfoy, Lucius Malfoy.
Mm-hmm.
So you may recognize him. So, story of the episode, right? The Earth's broken up. Basically, Mysterio takes over the world, as it were. Um, and Riri Williams is fighting against the kind of oppression of uh Mysterio. She meets with the power broker who turns her over to Mysterio essentially, but she is saved by the Alliance. The Alliance is made up by Wong, Okoye, Valkyrie, and Ying Nan. Um, After beating White Vision, um, Riri uses Vision's components to become a human synthezoid hybrid herself. Um, and then it's a fairly basic story, if we're being honest. You know, she uses the parts from Vision to infiltrate the compound and beat the bad guy. um, and so it was really cool to see. Obviously, right on the back of watching, um, Far From Home, we got to see um, Mysterio show back up, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then at the end of this episode, we do see where uh, we see that Riri's about to lose, but the Watcher intervenes. Right,
Right.
he encourages Riri to get back in, and um, she gets back in and fights on, and the Alliance becomes the Avengers. But at the very end of the episode, we see that other Watchers are displeased by our Watchers' interference.
Yeah. This one we saw a little bit more of Riri, who we saw in Wakanda Forever, who will be showing up in her own show later this year.
Yep.
And I like the scene where she is given like her, you know, her vast array of like, because she was, you know, scavenging for parts to make this thing that would defeat White Vision. Which, by the way, White Vision I love animated and
Oh yeah.
frightening. It's great. this one is definitely one I would prefer to watch animated versus live action.
I agree.
And they're like, how much? She's like, how long do you need? And she's like, I need 12 hours. Like, well, spell will last like, was it 7.5 minutes or something like
Yeah.
that? And she was like, and she's like creating, using, trying to take some of the tech that the Alliance had, incorporate in her gauntlet, and then kill White Vision, take his parts, and then, as she's like she said, as she's about to lose, the Watcher intervenes by, giving her a little pep speech.
Yeah. Yep. I liked this one. It was a good I like a good dystopian future. It's always fun to do some dystopia. Um and like I say, fun to see Mysterio show back up.
Hmm.
Especially just with the timing compared to our podcast. So,
Yeah, I like this one. The next one was What If 1872, and it's principally focused around just a handful of characters. So Simu Liu appears again as Shang-Chi. Steinfeld reprises her role as Kate Bishop. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, U.S. agent. Mengur Zhang as Zhu Jiling, who is the Shang-Chi's sister, who played the Hood. And good old Walton Goggins appears as Sonny Birch, much to the happiness of my heart.
yeah.
So it's in the 1860s. We see some of like Shang-Chi's family stories. This is a story that talks about how, and it feels very real today, has a different meaning that hits when you start talking
Mhm.
about the immigrants and so forth. And, basically, 12 years, his sister disappears. The Hood's plan is to enslave Chinese immigrants in order to consolidate his power. It's 12 years later, and Shang-Chi is searching for his missing sister along with Kate Bishop, who wants revenge on the Hood for killing her family. They go to the township. They meet a young boy named Kwai Jun Fan, who tells them how the Hood attacked me, demonstrates his own prowess with martial arts, which is pretty cool. I love the scene where they go into the saloon, and it's just the two of them. There's probably like, I don't know, 14 dudes with
Oh yeah.
pistols, and Shang-Chi just takes his hat, throws it in the air. And in the time before it falls, they've defeated everyone. And
Yeah.
that was a fantastic scene to watch. We later saw them, they see the ghost train, which they board. It's basically a train that's running on Stark Tech. It doesn't run on train tracks. It just kind of floats above the ground. They on the train, the young boy sees his dad. They're all kind of like hypnotized. You don't really know what's going on. They're all under some sort of spell. Get to the front car. God bless. Who's there? It's everyone's
Good old
favorite.
Sonny
Old
Birch.
Sonny Birch. And so basically the net is the Watcher, so train stops. Shang-Chi goes to fight the Hood. Kate Bishop stays on the train. Sonny Goggins' character, opens up a watch which has this kind of mesmerizing kind of spell. It's an earworm. It hypnotizes her. We see Shang-Chi fight. Turns out that the Hood is his sister. We don't know if she's obviously been through a lot in the 12 years. And so she obviously recognizes her brother, but she's trying to fight. He refuses to fight. She, uh, um, Kate Bishop breaks out of the spell, you know, kills all the goons. While Sonny Goggins is still alive, shoots the Hood, shoots Shang-Chi's sister as he thinks that she is going to kill him, and that's kind of the end of the movie. Other than the fact that the Watcher is punished by the other Watchers for interfering, and the causing shards of their observatory to kind of spill into the multiverse. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I like this one. This one was fun. It's these elsewhere or out of time kind of ones. They did a medieval one last season, and
Yep.
um it's really fun. I think they called it it was what did they call it? Like Stark or no, it was cross instead of being cross technology, it was like cross manufacturing was one of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like things. And it's just fun to do some of that. I will say the Hood is actually the character that Anthony Ramos will be playing in Ironheart. So different Hood, but it's kind of interesting because in this it definitely depicted the Hood as like a garment that corrupts its wearer, I guess is the best way to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think that's a
Um
good way to put it, right?
yeah.
And obviously, like mentally decayed is she recognized her brother, but like couldn't kill him, but also had to defeat him, if you will, and only if
Yeah.
he would fight her. So
Yeah. So I thought this one was fun. Again, they did a really good job of pulling in some people we haven't seen, right? Haven't seen Kate Bishop, Hawkeye in a minute, so cool to see her. Cool to see Shang-Chi come back again. Fun to see Walton Goggins get to voice Sonny Birch again. Everybody's favorite black market dealer. Um yeah. Moving on to episode 7, where we really start to get into the arc story, right? This is essentially episode 7 and episode 8 are two parts of the same story. So episode 7 is What If the Watcher Disappeared? Haley Atwell shows up as Peggy Carter, aka Captain Carter. Devery Jacobs shows up as Kahori, who Devery Jacobs had voiced her actually in the previous season. Devery Jacobs also has another Marvel credit. She actually was in Echo. She was the like sister. She. I don't think she was. She was Echo's sister. That's right. She was Echo's
okay, I didn't
sister.
know that.
Yep. Also, if anybody has watched Reservoir Dog or Reservation Dogs, not Reservoir Dogs, Reservation Dogs, Devery.
I was gonna say I don't remember her from like Reservoir Dogs at all.
um, but and then Allison Seeley Smith, who I believe, if I remember right, she voiced Storm in X-Men 97. She shows up as Storm here. Um, Natasha Lyonne voices Birdie, which not reprising, but also you could have told me that that was the voice of Mrs. Incredible, and I would have believed you because that's who she sounded like.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, I could see that.
Karen Gillian reprising Nebula, Kat Dennings back as Darcy Lewis, Seth Green as Howard the Duck, Taika Waititi back as Korg, Russ Marquand, who is pretty big voice actor in as Infinity Ultron. I don't
For,
think there's any.
Formerly Red Skull, right?
Yep, yep, exactly.
And I bet you're bummed to see that.
Yeah, no Vin Diesel.
No, I was gonna say no Vin
No Vin
Diesel,
Diesel. Was so
no
sad.
Familia. Yeah.
um. So what if the Watcher disappeared? So basically, out in the fifth dimension, the Watcher's standing trial for his interference. Meanwhile, this like team of multiversal Avengers, if you will, are kind of jumping around, stopping multiversal incursions. Um, After stopping an interdimensional universe eater from attacking Earth 625, those shards that got knocked out of the fifth dimension get knocked into Earth 625, and Peggy Carter and her team, consisting of Kahori, Birdie, and Storm, the goddess of thunder, uh, complete with Mjolnir, uh, decide that they are going to um, investigate this. After almost blowing all of their charges, they find 3 shards, and in classic, kind of movie trope sort of thing. Um, First, you have Peggy try science to get to the fifth dimension, um, using the time pods from the quantum from Quantumania. That doesn't work. Then you have um, Storm try and use god powers to get to the fifth dimension. That doesn't work. Finally, they realize that they only have one shot, so they have to go pick up Infinity Ultron, aka an Ultron who got the Infinity Stones. And in most universes where that happens, Infinity Ultron just kind of sits there. He kills everyone, he empties out his universe, then he just kind of hibernates. So they figure it's pretty safe to go pick him up if they have to. You know, if they have to prune his timeline, they're not impacting anybody else. So they head to go get Ultron, and um by the end we find out that Ultron is not necessarily the bad guy, that Peggy has convinced him to kind of join the team.
Yeah, it was kind of a combination like Ultron, Vision's face, and all the Infinity Stones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I like this one. It like I say, it's part 1 of the like these last 2 episodes are part 1 and 2 of the same episode.
So you're saying that this is your version of Infinity War. This is your
Yes.
okay. Just checking.
What's more than what was it? What's more than beyond
the last
infinity?
the last episode, which I can summarize pretty quickly because it was mostly fighting and it
Yeah.
was very little dialogue. So we get a flashback where the Watcher joins. Watcher disciple named Uatu is recruited to become a full time Watcher by the Eminence. He has the little he says a few words and he is basically joined. In the present, he is being tried for repeatedly interfering, which is kind of the first rule of the job description is like don't interfere. But we saw him interfere in the Shang-Chi episode when he saved his brother who's on top of the train. We saw him help out Riri Williams, and has been involved, and has a soft spot, I think, in some sort for Captain Carter.
Mhm.
So Watcher and Carter are rescued by Ultron. He sacrifices, or it sacrifices itself to buy them time to escape. The Watchers give chase, and they're basically on their vengeance streak. They're trying to erase everyone from existence. And basically they're about to kill the Watchers. About to kill. It's a grand. I usually say CGI battle, but it's a grand animated battle. Uh, the Watcher tells them to say the special words, and now they are all Watchers as well. So it's like a 5-on-3 fight. The net of it is, uh, they're about to win. They've got them cornered. Watu asks them to yield. They refuse. He lets up. He has a little bit of sympathy, and the existing Watchers, or they weren't the Watchers, but the 3 that were fighting our group, repower, are about to kill them. Captain Carter jumps up, sacrifices herself. The new Watcher group wins, and the Watcher convinces the humble trio to learn by watching over life in this new universe. They're now in like the Doctor Strange Supreme universe,
Mhm.
where they're now kind of tasked with like watching things, and then they just watch over the multiverse. They can no longer Birdie, Kahori, and Storm are now Watchers and don't intervene anymore. That's the end of season 3 and the end of What If for now.
Yeah. Which they were such a tease, man, because then they were like, if you ponder the thought of what if, and then they just like show this montage of different what ifs. Riri Williams as like a Punisher, and um, like Star Lord, if Star Lord got the 10 rings, and they show like all these like concepts
Mm-hmm.
for different possibilities. I'm like, man, this is why you don't stop this show. Like, don't stop this show. Stop stopping it.
I think it's fine to pause it.
Yeah.
Coming into the season, I had a lot of high hopes, And I think you and I were talking on a prior episode and basically saying, look, it's not that expensive to voice to create these shows. It's all animated. I don't know what it costs for the voice talent, but I can guarantee you they're not drawing, movie picture level
Yeah.
salaries. But I got to the end and I felt like, some of them were kind of repetitive. The 1872 was a little bit like the one from last season, well, although that was probably my favorite one. The, the last two were fine. I just, not that, I don't think they'll ever be out of stories, but I wouldn't mind, how I describe this. I wouldn't mind stacking up some more MCU content and then kind of going on from there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, okay, I've seen all these characters, but I wouldn't mind saying, I don't know, let's get some X-Men in here. Let's,
Yeah.
let's get the Thunderbolts. Let's get, but I do like what they did. I like what they attempted. I like the introduction of new characters. I like revisiting ones we haven't seen in a while. Maybe very kind of sentimental for some of them.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. Like I think it ended kind of at an okay spot. I don't think it's over,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they left the door open at the end. It felt very much like we might come back to this when we need to. And I think, if they wanted to, they could get away with voice actors over screen actors if they wanted to. It's nice to see. It actually got to be kind of a funny game for me because I'd be like, "Oh, who's going to show up during the opening credits?" Because they show all the voice actors in the opening
Mm-hmm.
credits. I'm like, "Oh, Chris Hemsworth, Thor's going to be in this one? What?" Um, Turns out he says like one line, um, but yeah. So I definitely hear what you're saying of just like, let it stack up a little bit. Um, I think it would be fun if they did maybe, weekly releases in the future too, instead of the daily releases. Um, just to stretch it out a little bit.
I would
But
agree. I would agree with that. I think I get why you do it all at the same time. They're not sequential. It's not really a binge watch, but at the same
yeah,
time, I would like them to be out and kind of breathe a little bit,
yeah,
even if you
yeah,
did two a day or whatever. But like,
yeah,
so yeah, it was fine. It was good. It
yeah,
was enjoyable.
yeah. I'm looking forward to like 5 years from now when we come back to it in our main show.
Dude,
But
we would have murdered people for this, like, in the in the dearth, which was like a lot of 2024 with nothing on. We're like, oh my God,
yeah.
shoot this what if heroin in my veins right now.
Well, let's move on. You talked a little bit about 2024. That was the last thing of 2024. Let's move on to 2025. So yeah, my friends, we are in 2025. Um, and I want to give a quick rundown of what's coming out. And then, actually, the way that we're going to talk about what's coming out is going to be a draft. It's going to be our bet. We're going to explain that in a second. But first, I do want to give a quick rundown of what comes out this year. So, on the movie front, we have Captain America Brave New World on February 14th. Very excited for that one. Thunderbolts comes out May 2nd. Oh, Thunderbolts asterisk. I almost forgot the asterisk. Thunderbolts asterisks comes out May 2nd. For those who don't remember, Captain America Brave New World is Sam Wilson, Captain America, and then Thunderbolts is going to be uh the the kind of anti-hero team up. Fantastic Four First Steps comes out July 25th. And then there's actually no non-MCU Marvel movies slated for this year. Sony has
That's
dropped its.
wild.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. Um maybe we'll get a Spider-Verse sneaking in here, but I doubt it. I think the animated Spider-Verse, that is. That's probably not until 2026. Um there's actually no Spider-Man. There's a little bit of there's Spidey and his amazing friends possibly this year, but um other than that, really no Spider-Man content at all. Spider-Man Noir with Nick Cage is not due out until 2026. It's filming right now, but um Oh, I say that, and then literally the first thing on my TV shows is Spider-Man. I'm an idiot.
And the
Um,
second to last, but
yeah, yeah,
you meant non-MC
yeah,
non-Marvel, like not MCU
yeah.
Marvel shows, right?
So then over on our Disney Plus shows, you've got Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man coming out January 29th. So about a week after you guys are hearing this, that'll start up. That's a weekly release on Disney Plus. I'm pretty excited for that one. Um, I actually heard today that they are bringing um Daredevil in for that. That what's his Charlie Cox is going to voice Daredevil for that, so that's pretty cool.
Cool.
Daredevil Born Again uh, comes out March 4th. Again, weekly releases. Ironheart, June 24th. I don't know that they've said what the release schedule for that one will be. Eyes of Wakanda, August 6th. Marvel Zombies, October 3rd. Wonder Man is set for December. They have not set a specific date yet. And then some non MCU but Marvel based stuff. These are both preschool shows, so of particular interest to me. Spidey and His Amazing Friends season 4 has been ordered, has not been release date has not been announced, but I'm gonna guess it's coming out this year. And then also Iron Man and His Awesome Friends, which I am so excited for. It's the same animation as Spidey and his Amazing Friends. Um, but it's Iron Man, Ironheart, and actually Amadeus Cho in armor. So I'm pretty excited for that one. So I can get the kid into some Iron Man. So, or as he likes to call him, Pew Pew.
I like the idea that they'd say, okay, we're going to take character. We have all these illustration plates, we have all these voice actors, all this talent. We're just going to come up and it's going to be so and so in this, right? So it's going to be Morbius and his fantastic buddies, right? Like it's so great. All right. So let's talk about the draft. So this is a conceit that we've talked about a couple times. Last year, we had our, just straight. Let's pick which movies are going to make the most money. That's a little bit. It's a little bit tough when you've only got a couple movies. It's tough when there's only one really good one. It's tough when like the other ones don't do as well. But we'll get to that in a second. And so we thought like, okay, let's total up. We'll do one Marvel movie. We'll do a related, something that's not in the MCU, but it could be a Marvel non-MCU movie, which we said there are none of. So something else which you can that is kind of logically or related to the to MCU. So it's one Marvel movie, one related movie. We're going for like total revenue, and then we're going to bring in like like scores, like critic scores, fan scores. So the thought is like, okay, yeah, you picked, I don't know, um uh you know such and such movie, but it got dragged and it got like a 12% critic score, or vice versa. Like maybe your movie wasn't like the highest rated, but it had like a 96% critic score. So we came up with this very scientific formula. We ran it past the people at MIT and they gave us a big thumbs up and said, sure, let's do this. So,
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the way that that we're going to pick these is going to be in a draft style. We are going to go ahead. We're going to do snake draft. Which for anybody who hasn't done fantasy sports, what that means is if you pick last in the first round, you pick first in the second round, which there's two of us. So basically, we're just going to be picking two at a time. Um, but yeah, so got to pick fan favorite TV. So kind of keeping in mind, we are probably going to use Rotten Tomatoes as our fan favorite because unfortunately, there's really not. I just can't find a replacement for Rotten Tomatoes that um, does kind of a percentage based rating
yeah.
situation. Um, so we do take with that the flaws that come with Rotten Tomatoes, right? And that is something I do want to name going into this, for anybody out there yelling at your phone, going, "You guys are idiots! You're gonna deal with review bombing." Yeah, we know that that's a thing, and unfortunately, that does probably color what we choose. Right, that changes what we choose for that category. We got our critic darling TV show, so that one's going to be actually using the Metacritic score expressed as a percentage. Um, they do it out of 100, so it's easy to make it a percentage. Um, and then yeah, like David talked about, the box office totals for
Yep.
movies.
You can take them in any particular order.
Yep.
The let me ask you this. Well, what is your going into it? Do you have like any kind of strategy? I can tell you right now, I'm not picking anything that has like a December release. There's no way I'm picking Wonder Man. Like and
Yeah,
anything which is ordered, no release date, I just can't pick that.
that's fair. That's fair. I December makes me nervous, and maybe we'll talk about it. Well, it depends on what people pick as their wild card. Um, I don't want to give it away, but there's a December release that's really tempting for wild card. Um, so um, so yeah, David, I'm going to give you first pick as you lost this year, and so as we go into this draft, we're gonna keep. I think it just makes sense for the previous year's loser to get to go first.
I appreciate it. I am Dude, so I looked at so one of the things was if you pick a non-Marvel movie, just to kind of reiterate, it has to be kind of related. It just can't be like, hey, I'm gonna pick Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like it has to,
Right.
right? Unless
Right.
it's like, oh, it's the same, whatever. So this is a tough one from a strategy perspective. I feel like the I mean, not to spoil things, but the three Marvel movies will probably all do pretty well. I think there's one that's going to do probably better than the other ones. But I'm going to go with my wild card and just get it out of the way. And I am going to choose, where is it here? Let me get my notes up. Bear with me a second. God, the excitement is riveting. I am going to choose a where's my Word document? Hold on. So sorry. Sorry, this is great radio. Little indie film called Avatar Fire and Ash.
That's a December release.
It is a December release. But as the rules last year, I got all of Craven.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you the tie, the connection. So, in Avatar Fire and Ash, Don Brooker does prosthetics for Fire and Ash for Avatar and was the uncredited makeup artist for Thor Ragnarok. All right, so let's go.
Not gonna go with the Zoe Saldana,
That was my second
or
one.
Disney made it.
No, it wasn't made by Disney. So I got some more, and they get a little bit better. So Damon Weathers, he was the special effects studio manager at a company called Legacy Effects. He worked on Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and 3, the Holiday Special, Captain Marvel, uh, Infinity War, Endgame, She-Hulk, um, just base, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Like worked at Legacy Effects. And is working on this movie special effects. Weta FX, which if you remember is the New Zealand based digital visual effects animation company based in Wellington, founded by Peter Jackson. They do all the Avatar movies, and they did VFX for Thanos in
Okay.
Infinity War. And it was the work they did on Thanos which helped inspire some of the work that they kind of advance. Each time they kind of iterate and they get the visuals better. Avatar: Flight of Passage is a 3D flying simulation game from Pandora, the World of Avatar, Disney's Animal Kingdom. Disney World also has the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, a Marvel theme ride. But on a serious note, the ride was actually created involving staff from Walt Disney Imagineering, and James Cameron's production company, Lightstorm Entertainment.
Nice.
Three other real quick things, and I'll shut up. Black Panther became the first film since Avatar to hold the #1 box office spot for 5 weeks in a row, and Avengers Endgame famously beat out Avatar, James Cameron's film, for the all-time top-grossing movie of all time. Cameron, who is the self-proclaimed king of the world, re-released Avatar in spite to climb back to number one. But the number one thing, and this is actually, the other ones are kind of little loose, but James Cameron in 1990, as the popularity of X-Men is exploding, Marvel set up a meeting with Lightstorm Films, which is owned by James Cameron. So it's James Cameron and others. And Marvel sent Stanley and Chris Claremont, who was the writer of X-Men, to go pitch the X-Men. And from the Reign of Marvel Studios book, Chris Claremont describes the meeting as, quote, "So we're chatting, and Stanley says, 'I hear you like Spider-Man.'" And James Cameron's eyes light up, and they start talking and talking and talking for 20 minutes about Spider-Man. And then Claremont says he turned to the Lightstorm guys, realized that the X-Men movie just died right there. And Cameron wrote a scriptment, which is like a cross between a script and a treatment,
Mhm.
that moved towards movie production. And they had Leonardo DiCaprio, who's going to play Spider-Man,
Huh.
and Doc Ock, who was going to be played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And because there were lawsuits over the movie rights, Cameron moved on to make Titanic. And Cameron would go on to say that Spider-Man was the greatest movie he never made.
Huh. Wow.
So that's
That's really cool. No, I thought about Avatar. Because it's gonna make buku bucks.
it's gonna make a lot of money.
It's gonna make a lot of money. Um,
I have a proposal for you, but let's get through some more of the movie drafts, and then we could talk
okay.
about the revenue piece. So
Yeah. So round one, pick number two. I'm gonna go for my Marvel movie here. And
you're not gonna pick Raven. That is bold. Let me type it in. Hold on.
I'm gonna take Fantastic Four First Steps. I think for me that stands the best chance of making the most money. I think that people are very excited for Fantastic Four. It's got a really great cast. Even Bach Mac, even I can't say his name. Even Moss Bacharach as the Thing. Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. You've got obviously Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. Sue Storm. I actually don't necessarily recognize that actress's work for myself, but and I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I wish I had it written down. But and then
Vanessa Kirby.
uh Vanessa Kirby, thank
Yep.
you. And so the first family is the first family. I think it's going to. I do fear that it may not have legs. I think
Isn't
that
Superman right after it or right before it?
Superman's like right around it. Um, I think that the other risk to it is that it is a one. It's a period piece. Two, it's an alternate universe piece, so it's not actually on Earth 616. Um so I do have some concerns with that. So I'm definitely banking on a big opening weekend. Um I think it has some risks for its run, I would say. Um and so I am picking this as hopefully something that just storms out of the gate and makes a boatload of cash, and then the cooling kind of legs don't matter too much.
Let's do this. Let's for the movies. Let's predict like how much we think it'll make, and not like Price is Right kind of rules. Like
Yeah.
I will say that Fantastic Four is the clear number one pick, and I would not be surprised if it made $1 billion. I
Yeah.
I think that's very well north. I think that like if I were to pick a number, I would say 750 ish.
Yeah. 750 was kind of where
Yeah.
I was. Um and I think it makes because Deadpool and Wolverine made 630 in its opening weekend. Um, and I think that Fantastic Four, I don't think eclipses that opening.
It's
Um,
not. That was
but
just ravenous fans, just hungry,
yeah,
and they marketed the heck out of that movie.
they did.
So I don't think it'll hit that, but if it made 800-900, I would not be surprised at all. I'm
Yeah.
not I the period piece, I get you. Those typically don't do as well, but that's kind of when you're talking about, like, World War II films and stuff like
Yeah,
that. This is
yeah.
60s. It'll
It's
be fine.
mid mod 60s. It'll get the hipster. But yeah, I like I say, I think it does have some risks, but I think it's also clear. It's not a return to a character. It doesn't have it doesn't have needless controversy around it. You know, it kind of just is going to be what it's going to be.
They don't have to write out their main villain character because of some domestic assault, right? Like, it's all good. That's
Yeah.
a great choice. I debated, like, taking that number one.
Moving over to my round 2, so Snake Draft. This is a tough one. This is a very tough one.
Now, question for you: when you draft the show, do
Mhm.
you have to designate whether you're drafting it as the fan favorite
Yeah.
or the critic? Okay,
Yep.
okay,
Kind of like drafting a position,
yep,
right?
that's fine.
In a sports league. Um I am going to draft as my fan favorite.
Okay,
So highest fan rating.
highest fan rating.
I'm going to go Daredevil Born Again.
God damn it!
I so I think there is someone who could come up from behind, and I won't say it cuz I don't want to give it away. Um but I do think Daredevil, people are hungry. Again, people are hungry for it. As long as it doesn't drop the bag, um it'll do great. Now, there is a shot. There is a low floor here wherein they mess it up.
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Yeah.
Like, I
I agree. But I think the fans are gonna be the harshest critics where either it's gonna I think that it's either gonna be like 100% fan score or like 60, right? There and no in between. There's gonna be no middle ground for this project. Um it's gonna be like 90s or 60s. And nowhere in between.
I hear you. Because the series premiered on Netflix and was pretty well received, if
Yeah.
it's seen as like, oh, this is kind of like a knockoff version, I can see a low score. But conversely, Marvel did the Deadpool movie, and we had
Yeah.
prior examples, and fans loved it. So that's a great choice. That's
Yeah.
a great choice.
This is, by the way, for because I saved talking about stars. Charlie Cox is playing Daredevil. Basically everybody from the Netflix show, Deborah Ann Wall, the guy who played Foggy, everybody's back. Kingpin's back. Um, so and we don't know a lot about the plot other than I think it's going to involve Kingpin's political Kingpin, maybe as his time as mayor of New York. Um, but really not a whole lot out there about the plot, which is kind of exciting. I kind of like that, right? I kind of like going into something without knowing exactly what I'm getting.
Yeah. No, those are two great choices. Those are my next two choices, to be honest. Like, I thought, when you look at the board, those are the two best Marvel properties in my
Yeah,
mind, right? The only question is whether you would pick it for fan favorite or critic darling, and I think fan favorite makes more sense because people love them some violent Daredevil, right?
yeah, for sure.
So with my second choice, I will pick for my fan favorite. I'm gonna pick. Hmm. I feel like there's a couple choices. All right, I'm gonna pick two TV shows. I'm gonna talk myself through fan favorites, critic darling. I'll take Eyes of Wakanda, and I will take. I don't know how the kids show. I don't know how well the kids shows are rated, so I have no idea. Like, but people love Spider Man, so I'll take Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man, and I think I'll do I Wakanda for my critics' choice, and my fan favorite being Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man. I feel like the floor for Eyes of Wakanda are it's pretty high.
Yeah.
Um, the
Yeah.
last Black Panther movie was good, not great, and it's possible that Eyes of Wakanda is kind of it's very short. It's only a few
4
episodes,
episodes, yeah.
and can come out and have 100% or come out and have a 76%. There's some risk doing that as my fan favorite because Rotten Tomatoes is basically the can kind of like bomb things. But Black Panther the movie I think remains the number one ranked Rotten Tomatoes MCU movie of all time, so I feel okay about that one. And then Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man, man, fingers crossed. I saw the trailer. We'll talk about it. It looks good.
Yeah.
Again, please don't mess it up. Um,
So to clarify, you're taking Eyes of Wakanda as fan favorite and then Spider-Man as critic darling?
yep. It'll be interesting. We should run the math next time at the end of the year. Like, what if we had swapped those, and would that change the
Yeah. Would
results?
that
Right?
change the result? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Eyes of Wakanda, for those who don't remember, 4-episode miniseries animated. Um, Ryan Coogler at the helm, kind of telling the story of what Wakanda was doing while it had to stay hidden. The elevator pitches, this is the history they had to hide when they were isolationist.
Okay.
Um,
Who
and
is?
we'll talk about Friendly Spider-Man when we talk about its trailer.
Yep.
We'll talk a little bit more about it.
Who is your? Who's your number three choice?
My number 3 choice is I'll go ahead and get my wild card. So I thought heavily about picking 2 Marvel movies because I did think I do agree that I think the 3 Marvel movies are very strong contenders for big big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually going to branch out, and I do not have to stretch to get this connection. Um because what I'm going to go ahead and pick is I'm going to the dark side and I'm going to pick Superman.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm going to take Superman. I think the trailer got a lot of buzz. It I think was like the most watched trailer maybe of all time, maybe of the last decade or something. Its trailer has a lot of buzz. Um James Gunn is at the head of DC. He's at the steering wheel now, and he knows how to make a movie. The guy knows how to make a superhero movie, and I think the DC fans are hungry. Um, because they've gotten some good TV shows, but they've not gotten great movies. Uh, their latest movie was Joker Fully Ado, which was not great from what I understand. Um, and the Superman fans haven't had a movie in a long time, and Superman has a big fan base. Um, so I will say I think that next year could be a big box office year for superhero movies. I can absolutely see a world where the top 4 movies of the year are all superhero movies.
There's some like kids animated IP stuff sequels that I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be hard to beat, but I would say that of the live action, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, like Avatar stands you picked Avatar, which is a super legit. That was absolutely on my radar for a wild card. It's gonna It always has Avatar always has a big opening weekend. That's how they work, and they're always awesome in theaters, right? They're the type of movie that you don't want to watch on Disney Plus. You want to go to the theater and see it because it's big and pretty. Um,
That
but
dude,
yeah,
that being said, the second one made like 25% less than the first one, right? And
yeah.
so, um, I think okay, so what's your guesstimate? What do you think Superman's gonna make? Billion?
Soups, soups. I put it at a billion.
Yeah.
I'll put it at a bill.
I think your two will combine for 2 billion for sure.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
so. It'll kind of come down to score. We can talk a little bit about yeah, Superman's a good one. That's a good choice. Who's your what's your
My
critic darling?
critic darling. This is a tough one because I have not looked up how Spidey and his amazing friends or how Iron Man does on or how they would do on the critics. I don't know those I'm worried. I will say I think that the big TV shows have been plucked.
Which,
Um
if we added another one, it gets this kind of like, oof, which one's got like the highest? I don't even want it to. I just don't want like a 13 on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Uh oh man. Do I take Okay, I'm gonna take the risk because I don't have unfortunately, I am gonna love I know because it's robots, I'm gonna or it's mech suits and stuff. I'm gonna love Ironheart. I'm gonna love Marvel Zombies, but I don't know that the critics will. I think that Ironheart's gonna be a little bit too much of just a shoot 'em up type of show for
mm-hmm.
the critics, and I worry that Marvel Zombies is just a little bit too weird, right? It's a what if plot. So, I am going to take the risk. I This is a risk because it's a December release date.
Are you doing
Um,
it?
but but being a critic choice, we will have a return, right? It's not like Craven where we don't know what the number will be or whatever. We'll have a return already. So I am going to take Wonder Man.
Okay. I think that's a good choice for a couple reasons. I think one, when you look at the rest of the films, when you look at the rest of the TV shows, God only knows what critics think of animated stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so that's tough. Wonder Man could be really good. There's also a chance, and the one reason why I thought about like picking Wonder Man is like there's also a chance it doesn't come out. So
Yeah.
that doesn't
It
that doesn't
there
hurt me.
is. There is a chance that I get a big fat goose egg there, which it'll be what it is. I
I don't think
think
it
that
hurts you though.
I mean it doesn't add to my multiplier, right?
But think about it like this. Okay, let's think about this. So Daredevil Born Again, its score I think will almost certainly be above Wonder Man.
Yeah.
And if you take that math, then if Wonder Man, I mean, it's possible Wonder Man does well, in which case you're going to do real well in the draft
Yeah.
or real well in the results. But then if Wonder Man doesn't come out, then you just have your Daredevil score,
100%, yeah.
right? 100% of Daredevil instead of splitting it between two,
Yeah.
right?
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And so Um, yeah, I think I will also say I think having a $2 billion movie projection makes me a little bit more confident in taking a little bit of a risk on the TV side.
Yeah. Those are pretty much how I'd rank things. Dude, I don't know how critics are gonna feel about like Marvel Zombies or like
Yeah.
Spidey and His Amazing Friends. It would
Yeah.
have been funny if we had to draft everything and if we could figure out we're like, ooh, and we're like the movies would have gone first. I mean, the TV shows would have gone first because I
Yeah.
think Fantastic Four is going to make significantly more than Captain America: Brave New World or Thunderbolts. Captain America: I'm sorry, Order, not World, is it's World, right? Or is it
I
Order?
think it's World. I think it's World.
Okay,
I've been writing Brave New Order a bunch of places, but I think it's Brave New
okay.
World.
But I'm gonna take Captain America. I think that will. I'm a little nervous about that one.
Mhm.
It's a February release. It's not, primetime May. February has been good for things like Black Panther, but Black Panther was also awesome.
Yeah.
And I just know that there was I was not going to take Captain America: Brave New World. If I had to multiply that towards the fan favorite score, I was absolutely not going to do that because people are going to bomb the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll take Brave New World. Now looking at the totals here, um, if you feel like do you feel like that's fairly balanced? Um, do you feel like Avatar skews things too much?
No, I think we're pretty fairly balanced. And I will also say we do have. So let me ask you this: are you worried about Avatar having enough legs to where we shouldn't settle this in January next year?
Um, no, we could settle by January. I feel pretty confident. Like I feel that like 4 weeks or so. Like
Mhm.
it's gonna be in December. I think it's gonna be in for like 13 or so days. If it gets like a full like if we want, we can figure out the total number of
Yeah.
days. That's fine.
The reason
Um,
why I ask is our winner's choice right now is slotted for November of 2026. So when we get around to 2026, we do have some time if we wanted to let the box office completely play out. We could do that. Um, so
yeah, I think in again, and
unless it's within, a couple thousand, maybe we
yeah, and then we bring in the
call it out.
accountants, and then they do all the
Yeah.
audits. It's fine. The only thing, a very small part of me, I'm not a huge Avatar fan. I I pick it not because I want it to do well, but I pick it because I think it will do well.
Yeah.
A very small part of me also hopes that it bombs out, but I don't think it will.
Mostly
Apologies to the
because it'd
Avatar
be
fan.
really funny for them to have like two more in the barrel and it just completely tank.
I just don't think. I think the novelty of and again, this is not the Avatar podcast, but the novelty of the first one, this kind of amazing world, you're like, oh, this is so great. I really want to see this. And I just wonder if the novelty will wear off by the third one, fourth one, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
we'll
fair.
see. We'll see. What would have been would you have picked Captain America Brave New World or would you pick Thunderbolts? Because I think they're
I
pretty
would
close.
probably pick Thunderbolts.
Would
I
you?
agree that it's very, very close. I would have picked Thunderbolts simply for its May release.
Yeah.
Kids out of school and whatnot.
I
But
know. I thought about it. I think they'll that could come back to bite me. But I think we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, yeah. So in total, real quick, David's team is Avatar, Ash, and Fire and Ash. Eyes of Wakanda as his fan favorite TV show, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as his critic darling, and Captain America, New World Order or Brave New World, whatever it is, as his Marvel movie. For my team, I am picking Fantastic Four: First Steps as my Marvel movie, uh, Daredevil as my fan favorite, Daredevil Born Again, season one. Since we know there's two seasons, I guess I should probably denote that. And then Superman as my uh, wild card movie, non Marvel movie, and then Wonder Man as my critic darling. So look forward to kind of tracking that throughout the year. And speaking of the rest of the year and in our podcast, I want to give a quick rundown of what this year has in store for our podcast. So, January on our main show, we released our Spider Man Far From Home episode that released on January 7th. So, go listen to that. It's a good one. It's nice, tight. Like, I think we finished it in like 2 hours or less than 2 hours. Um, Really fun episode. So go listen to that one. You're obviously listening to on the year in preview here on the monthly Bugle. In February, we will have our phase 3 phase in review on our main show, and on the monthly Bugle, we'll get to review Captain America. Um, so we'll kind of get our first. Actually, at that point, we will have our first returns because we'll be able to talk about uh potentially Captain America, but also depending on when we record, but also Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So that'll be cool. We'll get kind of our first returns on the bet. We'll kind of be able to check in on a few things there. March, we are actually doing a brand new type of show on our main show. We are doing a saga review. We don't know exactly what that's going to entail, but I will say we are going to encourage some audience participation. So get in on the Ears Up Discord if you want to join in on the audience participation side of that.
It's just me and Ryan trying to fight to get the 6 Infinity Stones. I think that's I don't know what that looks like, but I think that's what we should do.
Yeah. And then the monthly bugle that month, we'll get to probably talk a little bit about Daredevil. We should be probably partway through the season at the time we record. I'm also going on a cruise in March, so I will get to talk about the experience of watching Captain America on a boat on the monthly bugle, so that should be fun. I specifically picked a room down the hall from the movie theater on the boat just so that I could, sneak out and go watch Captain America.
That's cool.
Um and then we get to April, and our main show in April. So David, are you ready for our grand reveal of the payoff of last year's bet?
Sure, let's run the numbers. I've got my accountants on the other line. I'm ready to like audit these results.
All right. So for a reminder, our bet last year was originally the very, very original bet was David got the top two performers of Sony's releases. Now this was under the auspice that Into the Spider that the last Spider-Verse animated movie was going to come out. So David was going to get basically that plus probably Venom was our guess at the time.
I think we knew it was kind of iffy. Like
Yeah, it was awfully quiet. It was like we haven't heard a lot, and I'm a little worried about
it
that.
was like Blade level volume,
Yeah.
right?
Um so then it became clear that that wasn't happening. And so we spread
Felt
it
pity on me and just gave me a bunch of others Sony crap to like
we spread
try
it
to
out
total it up.
to be that you got all of the Sony Marvel. So you got Madam Web. I think after Madam Web came out is when we were like, "Oh god. Yeah, let's give him all three." And then I forget what bet we had where you ended up winning. Oh, it was our Deadpool predictions.
Oh yeah,
We predicted cameos and stuff in Deadpool, and
that's
actually
right.
David did a better job at that than I did. So he also gets the total, or he gets the box office from the best performing non-Marvel Sony movie, which this year ended up being Bad Boys Ride or Die. So, David, your totals for this year: Madam Web, $100 million, or yeah, about $100 million, a little bit over $100 million. I'm not going to read the exact numbers, but I'm going to kind of round for us here. About $100 million. Um, Bad Boys Ride or Die, $404 million.
Mm-hmm.
Venom: The Last Dance, $478 million.
Not bad. Now I have here. Now I don't know if you when the last time you checked the box office. I'm looking at boxofficemojo.com for Craven the Hunter.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm including January in the
Uh-huh.
legs. 587,872,610.
I think you added a zero there, bud.
What? Oh, 58 million?
Uh-huh.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Bum, 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 bum. Wow. I almost made as a joke in the draft was like, hey, we got to throw in if we had added Craven's January numbers and that was another Marvel movie, how quickly we would have dove on like the three Marvel movies. Because it made $1.76 billion this month and then dropped out of theaters. So
Yeah. So
God, so bad at math.
it's been a rough year for Sony and their spider villain verse, and
It's
it's
fine.
dead. They've crushed that spider. Um who knows, maybe those will become cult favorites down the road, but
What was the gap? What was the final dollar gap?
so on the flip side, I got just Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, if I had been better at guessing who was going to show up in Deadpool and Wolverine, I would have got the Taylor Swift Eras Tour theatrical release added to my to my total. That was my side of the bet. um, but um, Deadpool, $1,338,000,000.
I think it's number 9 or 10 in MCU now,
Yeah. If you were not doing the math at home,
which no one is.
David's
Which no
full
one,
total,
absolutely no one is. Did it clear 600?
you cleared a billion,
Okay. How the-
1 billion, 1,041,000,000 dollars.
I had
So
5 movies or 4.
four.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had 2, you know,
You
auteur
had
films.
two half a billion, yeah, or you had two that didn't clear the half a billion mark, but they got close. Actually, Venom didn't do terrible. It was the number 10 movie last year.
Dude, Venom did, yeah, but Venom did I mean,
It was
the
a bad year for the box office, for
first
sure.
half was really bad. Second half was better. Deadpool
Yeah.
Wolverine certainly helped that out. Venom, if you were to like, we could look at the numbers another time, but like if you were just to look at the Venom films, I think first one made like 800. It was north of 800, 850, and now this one was like 480. What was it?
Yeah. For just about 480, 478.
Like someone at Sony is absolutely getting fired
Oh
for
yeah.
all this because that is an atrocious showing. And the Craven thing, you're just like,
Mm.
yeah.
The trailer looked good for Craven too. I just they just have dropped the bag over there at Sony. So with that, what our bet was we wanted to expand beyond just Marvel movies or just MCU movies, right? And so in the interest of that, keeping ourselves sharp, keeping ourselves able to explore other things, we each had our preferences, but I am here to announce as the winner that in April we will be doing our typical breakdown on Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Um this is my favorite of the Fast and the Furious movies. Uh so I love this movie so much, and it has a Marvel actor in it. It's got well, it's got a couple of Marvel actors actually, now that I say that. The guy who plays DK was actually in Drift King in the movie. He was in the Wolverine. And then also obviously Vin Diesel. He shows up in a cameo in the movie. And he's Groot. So there we go. Um
Yeah, we'll do this. I'm absolutely not writing the screen breakdown for this, my man. Like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
although that would be a great double punishment. Just like, yeah, you got to write
You
like
have to do it. Yeah.
10,000 word, like, oh God.
Have fun with the production details.
Oh,
Um,
I'll have fun with production details for sure.
um, so then we actually get into what's interesting is where we are in the movies, right? We're in we're we're inching towards 2020, right? I think actually was WandaVision released in 2020? I think
Yes.
so. Yeah.
Wait.
So we are in 2020, so we actually have a lack of movies for a little bit here. So we're really excited. I'm really excited. This is a part of the MCU that um I have been really looking forward to us getting to. And so we start in on some TV shows instead of movies. We don't know exactly what this is going to look like. I'm going to say we're not going to break it down in the same like nth degree detail that we break down the movies. We're gonna play with the format a little bit. But May we will be releasing our episode on the first season of WandaVision, first and only season of WandaVision, as we have now found out. June will be Falcon and Winter Soldier. I believe that is also first and only season. July will be season 1 of Loki. August will be back to a movie. The universally enjoyed and not at all controversial Black Widow. September, we will have What If season 1. October, Shang-Chi, which I'm actually really looking forward to that one. That one I'm actually really excited to rewatch. And then David's favorite, I'm actually really looking forward to this episode. November will be Eternals, which famously David has not watched, so we won't be a Marvel rewatch podcast for
I've
that one episode.
watched like the first 15 minutes and fell asleep. Um, Shang-Chi is the only movie I'm looking forward to
That's
on this
fair.
list.
I like Black Widow. I actually, this is a decent year for me personally. But and then actually what's kind of cool is the way it all worked out is Hawkeye, which is based at Christmas time, we will be releasing in December. So that's kind of cool,
Oh,
right
that's
in the
fun.
holiday season.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It'll be fun to I've not I actually started rewatching Falcon and Winter Soldier recently after what was it? It wasn't I don't know if it was Endgame, but before then I was just like, oh,
Mhm.
I just want to go kind of revisit those characters because I really like the dynamic. And it's been a minute since seen Black Widow and Shang-Chi and others. So it'll be interesting to see how they, and I think we should put things in context of the pandemic and like how things were really very difficult to make and produce. Certainly in
Yeah.
some cases there was very little box office. We'll talk about the Black Widow stuff when we get there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it'll be interesting. I think about Falcon and Winter Soldier and the way some of its themes will be interesting
Hmm.
in Modern Eyes as well.
Yep. Totally. And also in the
Um,
context of the new Captain America film.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, definitely a good year here ahead on the pod. I'm excited for it. Like I say, this is stuff I haven't rewatched a whole lot of because it's new. There hasn't been a lot of chance to rewatch it, and I also struggle to rewatch TV sometimes. So, I'm excited to get back to it. These are some ones that a lot of the movies will say, I rewatch this every other week or whatever. Um, I would say this year is not really one of those years. These are ones that I couldn't recite right now from heart. So yeah, looking forward to that. I hope you all join us on this journey. Um, Real quick before we do our wrap up stuff, I do want to get to a little bit of comic news. Um, so I know that in the past I have done the kind of Marvel Unlimited releases, and I've been trying to do that every month. I'm gonna skip that this month. There's not a whole lot coming out that's super exciting, other than there is an Ewoks book coming out. So go read Ewoks. You have to read Ewoks. But what is really exciting that I do want to mention is we did get the titles announced for our free comic book day comics. Those who don't remember, free comic book day first Saturday in May, and your friendly local comic book shop will have free comic books for you to pick up. Those free comic books from Marvel this year will be Fantastic Four and Giant Size X-Men #1. This is kind of being billed towards movie fans. So if you are a movie fan, go to your comic book shop, pick this one up. It's being kind of targeted towards like, hey, this is right before they come out. Fantastic Four comes out on the big screen, so go check it out. You know, good couple of really basic teams, easy teams to read. with Fantastic Four and X-Men. So go check those out.
This is
Uh,
not, to be clear, this is not the 1975 giant size X-Men, which,
correct.
it's a bummer, man, because that comic's worth a lot.
Yeah. Uh, moving over to something more for our comics heads. So if you are already a comics reader, this is probably the one that is going to tickle your fancy a little bit more. It's a combo issue of Amazing Spider-Man and Ultimate Universe #1. So last year they brought back the Ultimate Universe, though it is a different Ultimate Universe than what they had done originally. But for those who don't know, that's an alternate universe where they kind of explore some different ways. It's very closely related to 616, but um, this is a prologue to kind of the big event in the comics for the summer, which is called Ultimate. So this is kind of to get you into the big event, right? This is kind of your entry ticket there. Um, so those are the two more traditional ones. Moving on to some less traditional fare, you do have Star Wars, which includes 3 stories. One is a Luke story. So a story about Luke. Another one is a story about Qui-Gon Jinn and Tensu Run, who's actually a comic books Jedi. He's big in the comics books, but not real big on the TVs or movies. And then a new era story about a mysterious character and how he links up with kind of our big Darth Vader guys. Um, Marvel Voices #1 that also has an Ironheart story in it. This was meant to lift up kind of underrepresented voices within the comic book sphere. So in this particular issue, you will have an Ironheart story. You'll have Mystique and Destiny's wedding. You'll have a Patriot story. That's not Iron Patriot. That is Patriot. And then you will also have a brand new Ghost Rider. So kind of cool. Um, Usually focusing on communities like the LGBTQIA community or communities of color, those sort of situations. It's usually what you get in Marvel Voices. So check that one out. And then last but not least, one that I definitely will have to pick up is Iron Man and his awesome friends and Spidey and his amazing friends #1. These are super cute. It's based on the Disney Junior shows. It actually has like coloring pages in it too. So if you are somebody out there who wants to get your preschool or kindergarten age kid into comics, go get a free one, let them rip it up, let them color on the pages, and you get a fun little story. I've read actually from Marvel Unlimited. They upload these on Marvel Unlimited like a couple months later. And I read last year's free comic book day one to Ted as like a bedtime story at one point, and it was really fun. It was really cute. It's one of the episodes in comic book form. They're not breaking any new ground. It's not challenging by any means, but if you have kids who you want to get into comics, that's a fun little entry point. So go, and it's free. It's not like you're paying $5-10 or whatever it is, whatever for a comic, and then they're ripping it up. Instead, it's a free one that they can do with as they see fit. Um, so yeah, those are our free comic book day titles. Really excited for that. I'll probably remind you guys again in April's um, monthly bugle about all those again, just because then it's a little closer to actual free comic book day. But um, we had referenced the trailer park. I do want to just quickly touch on the trailer that released this month. We did see a trailer for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm not going to go too far into the trailer because you're literally going to get to watch the whole series next week, or at least the first episode of it. Basically the trailer does establish a few things. It establishes that this is going to be early on in Spider-Man's career. For those who don't remember, the original working title of this was Spider-Man Freshman Year. He's very much in college, or I'm sorry, in high school. We do see that Nico Mineru is a key player. She showed up. We see Norman Osborn, and we also saw Spider-Man in his Future Foundation suit, that white and black suit. Now, in the comics, Future Foundation is run by Reed Richards. The trailer would have you believe that here it's run by Norman Osborn, so we'll see how that goes. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for this show, and I think the trailer was pretty good. Kind of set the tone really well. I did hear today. I was actually pretty excited. Heard today on the Marvel official podcast. It's going to be rated TVG.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty excited. I get to show the kiddo this one.
Yeah, that is
So.
cool. And I hope the ratings are through the roof. No, I like the trailer. It was fun. With these, especially with the animated stuff, you don't get a lot of trailers.
Yeah.
You get one or two. Gives you a good flavor of what it looks like. Gives you a flavor for like the style. I have no idea where the story is going to go, but I'm down for it. When does it come out again? It's later. It's January. What is it?
29th.
Okay,
January 29th. So about a week from when we're releasing, when you got listeners, when you're hearing this episode, be about a week later. So.
put it on your Outlook. Put it in your Google Calendar. Set your reminder. Check it out.
Cool. Um, David, do you want to cover just a couple of anniversaries real quick?
Sure. January's not the big movie month, but I would say that the biggest things are what has come out on Disney Plus. So WandaVision, we talked about earlier. It actually came out January 15th, 2021, not 2020. We were both dead wrong.
Dang.
We're just off by a year. So it's 4 years ago. God, 4 years ago. And then 1 year ago, literally tomorrow, Echo came out. Season one, only of one.
Oh, only
Spotlight.
one.
Echo Spotlight.
Spotlight.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the best of the best that came out. January is a pretty dry month. So
Yeah. Fair
yep.
enough. Fair enough. Cool. Well, let's see here. So yeah, check us out on our socials. You can read our name on your podcatcher. We are on the socials. Is that I have been having an issue with my auto push to Twitter, and I'm not super invested in fixing that. So, um, if you want to know when our episodes are dropping, the main places are going to be Instagram and Facebook. So go check those out. We are on the Ears Up Discord, as I mentioned earlier in the episode. We'll actually be using that Discord for some fan interaction here in for the um, saga review. Um, what else do we have? Check out the other shows on the network. Bantha Milk, I think, is wrapping up their stuff with Skeleton Crew because it's wrapping up. Um, the Supreme Resort is still talking about hotels and doing wonderful, wonderful work over there. If you don't listen to the Supreme Resort, you're wrong. Go listen to the Supreme Resort very genuinely. Even if you are one of our fans who's not a Disney fan, those guys are just a blast to listen to. So go listen to their stuff. And also, if you listen on Spotify and you um don't see Asher's dance party, go over to a different podcast platform and grab Asher's dance party because
It's
it's
pretty
great.
great. It's pretty great.
Um, let's see. Scraping the Vault just did the Mr. T Don't Be Somebody's Fool, or Be Somebody's Fool, which was pretty great episode. So those guys, they have one more dealer's choice. They'll have Audrey's Choice coming out here soon. And then they'll get back to their straight to DVD, straight to video Disney sequels, which I think they're on the Tinkerverse, if I remember right. So I think once they get back to those, they'll be doing Tinkerbell movies. Um, Buena Vista Boys are on hiatus. They just finished their season with Babes in Toyland. They're doing like 10 episode seasons and then taking a break. Um, the flagship show for the network is on a hiatus this month. So they should be back in February. Um, Ears Up in Depth. um, yeah, go listen to all the shows. Listen to listen to scrape or not scrape Bowie splaining. Bowie splaining was the one I was aiming
Hmm.
for, and also listen to the hub crawl. Um yeah. So go listen to all those shows on our network and the ones off our network as well. Um check out our Patreon if you want to get our super secret spoiler shows. We just released I just scheduled the one for Captain Lady Pants to go out, so that one should be going out I think later this month. Um then we need to record a endgame one here soon. So go check those out. And a programming note for our feed. We're still debating what this is going to look like, but there is a good likelihood that you will start to get those super secret spoiler shows um, put into the main feed. We're thinking about bringing those out from behind the paywall kind of 2 years later. So starting with Iron Man and working our way forward each month. So kind of something where like if you're on the Patreon, you get a little bonus. You get it you get it 2 whole years earlier than everybody else, and in a time frame that makes a whole lot more sense. Um, but it's
Or burn it to a CD and mail it to you, right?
there we go. It's fun content, so go check it out. But yeah, other than that, I have blathered on, and I apologize. But with that all said, our next main show will be that phase 3 phase in review. So really looking forward to that one. And other than that, enough said.